Ishkwalawan, Kwanasilonala. We respectfully acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional and ancestral lands of the Halkidinum speaking people, where we live, learn, and pray. Adoption of the agenda. Moved by Trustee Lise, seconded by Trustee Isusa. All those in favor? Thank you. Minutes of the June 6th meeting that the Board of Education of School District 79 Cowichan Valley adopts the minutes of the June 6th, 2023 open board meeting. Moved by Trustee Gilman, seconded by Trustee Croft. All those in favor? Minutes of the July 6th special open board meeting for the Board of Education of School District 79 Cowichan Valley adopts the minutes of the July 6th, 2023 special open board meeting. Moved by Trustee Dominus, seconded by Trustee Lise. All those in favor? Thank you. Tonight, it comes with a great honor to recognize our Secretary Treasurer. I got some notes earlier, so if I stumble a little bit, folks, stay with me. So it is an honor to recognize Jason Sanquist as he is an inductee to the North Cowichan Duncan Sports Hall of Fame. Board of Education would like to recognize Jason Sanquist, our Secretary Treasurer, who has been named an inductee. This year, Jason was named as one of 5 new inductees being added to the Sports Wall of Fame, which annually recognizes greatness in sport. The recent announcement from North Cowichan included the following biography. We have amended the biography. Jason Sanquist is an accomplished triathlete in the Cowichan Valley with 130 world qualifiers for the Ironman 70.3 triathlon, which is a 2-kilometer swim, 90-kilometer-an-hour bike, and 21-kilometer-an-hour run. Jason has been training for over 30 years. He has raced in 22 world champions, with the most recent in Finland. By the way, congratulations for placing as a 2nd in North America. Very proud of you. Jason trains 50 to 20 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. He was the overall amateur long course triathlon provincial champion. Some of his other accomplishments include top amateur competitor at Ironman Canada in 1994, 96, and 2000. He ranked #1 in the world for Ironman 70.3 races in 2013 and 2014. And received the Triathlon Canada Excellence Award for Long Distance Triathlon in 2014. Some of those great accomplishments. Then he became our Secretary Treasurer, and in the Secretary Treasurer's words, it all came to an end. Jason continues to be a lifelong multiple sport athlete who inspires many people in the Cowichan Valley to get into triathlon training and continues to run and swim and cycle with no plans to stop anytime soon. A gala ceremony is scheduled for November 18th, where Jason will receive a special award, a paver with his name on the Walk of Fame. His digital biography will also become part of the Sports Wall of Fame displayed in the lobby of the Cowichan Aquatic Center, and the paver with his name will become a part of the new Walk of Fame located outside the front entrance of the building. Jason will be able to see his paver and display in the Wall of Fame whenever he does his morning swim at the Cowichan Aquatic Center. We congratulate you, Jason, for being selected and look forward to seeing you be acknowledged in the new Walk of Fame and Sports Hall of Fame. Your dedication to being a multi-sport athlete and an inspiration is to many of our district and our community. Thanks. There you go.
Thank you all. I'm most excited about having my own place to stand outside the pool. I'll have to find my square and then we can do it in. Make sure nobody else takes it.
And we'll get your biography edited. Perfect. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, Secretary Treasurer 5.1.
Thank you. The board met in closed session just prior to this open session. There were personnel updates and the establishment of the Cowichan Valley School District Careers and Trades for 2024-2025. We have not concluded the business and we'll go back into closed session immediately following open.
Thank you. Action list 6.1. Mr. Sanquist?
Most of the items on the action list relate to the public process regarding the closure or for disposal of Cowichan Secondary School. The board will be working to establish a date to hold that public meeting, likely sometime this fall.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the action list, trustees? Seeing none, moving on. Superintendent of schools.
All right, moving on to 7.1.1. In your passage on page 20 would be an updated principal and vice principal assignment school year. And then moving on to 7.1.1, some postings. Presently, we have just hired Donna White into the position of the Health and Wellness Manager. And then secondly, Vanessa Lindsay has announced her retirement, and we have hired Nicole Brown, who will be our new HR manager. And then moving on to board information, 7.2. So 7.2.1 in your package under the pages of 21 and 25, you will find the 2022-2023 framework for enhancing student learning. This is a peer review report. So last spring, we had a peer review by the Ministry of Education and a number of partners who came in to hear our story and to see how well we were doing. So you will see that peer report, and it focuses on 3 areas: strategic engagement, alignment, as well as the use of data and evidence. And so that would be the review that the Ministry of Education was doing around our district. We have many strengths, but I do want to talk about a couple of them with regard to our strategic engagement. One of our strengths was the use of engagement as a restorative practice. With regard to our alignment, one of our strengths would be that we intentionally fund what we value. And then I think thirdly, with regard to data and evidence, one of our strengths would be that we use multiple data points to triangulate evidence from multiple sources. And so I think overall, it was an excellent opportunity for us to share our story with the Ministry of Education and Childcare, and they highly valued the work that we're doing. And they also wrote down some considerations that we have already incorporated into our framework for enhancing student learning report, which I will be sharing with you momentarily. Any questions? I'll move on to 7.2.2, and this is just an update on our students, national student program. So over the summer, we had a small group of students here that stayed around during the summer from Japan. They spent the summer program at Cowichan Secondary learning robotics, painting, forensic science, and Canadian culture. And so thank you to our international student programs and staff who actually conducted that program. They also had a mini art show to display their creations, and I understand that our Secretary Treasurer was in attendance, so thank you. And then with regard to our enrollment, we have most of our students are representing many countries, but the majority would be from Europe as well as South America. And we have a very limited group from China. That would have been a strong contingent in the past, but that's no longer the case just due to the world's conditions. Presently, right now, we have 128 FTE, and we anticipate that we will be at similar numbers from last year by second semester, which is 140 to 145 FTE. It's down slightly due to the global economy and high inflation, but also because of our homestays, our homestays really want to look at the short-term 3 to 5 months, and so instead of a full year semester. Saying all that, though, I would say that our profit margins are actually up from the program, and that's just in how we do our business down. So that's the report from International Student Program Update. Okay. And then I will move on to the superintendent's report. So I have a number of things, but it's not very long lasting as usual. There are no photographs because we're just starting the school year, and so that will be something that will come in the next month. But I would firstly want to acknowledge the hard work that's been done over the summer by our district staff in operations, custodial, transportation, purchasing, human resources, accounting, payroll, and by the PVPs, principals and vice principals, and the clerical staff who worked hard at the schools ready to welcome students back for the opening day. We thank all of them for what they do. And then of note, custodians were recognized on Wednesday, August 30th. The maintenance crew was recognized on Thursday, August 31st. And the transportation department was recognized on Friday, September the 1st with a pizza and cake to acknowledge their work over the summer. Moving on to Cowichan Secondary Update, the school's moving along nicely. If you are on the highway, you can actually look to see where the multi-purpose room is, because you'll see some beautiful beams, and that would be the ceiling of the multi-purpose room. It's not covered up yet, but it's moving along nicely, and overall, we've had a lot of work being done over the summer. So we are on target of substantial completion of July of 2024. We were able to visit on August 24th, and we had a couple visitors along with the board chair and myself and our director of communications having a tour of the school.
If I might just offer, we got a lot of comments up there at our gallery when those beams were left. Everybody noticed those arriving, and they asked us because we're the neighbors. So yeah, so that was quite the, I don't know, people just felt it was a real milestone, and they're very excited to see the wood. That's exciting as well. So.
Thank you. Moving on, National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. The district will be observing that on October the 2nd. The school district will be honoring the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, and all schools and work sites will be closed on that particular day. It's my hope that we will take the day to reflect and learn on our continued journey towards reconciliation, and that many of our staff will take advantage of the opportunity to participate in community events. I know that overall in our community, there has been the Every Child Matters walk that's been held on September the 30th, and I would encourage all of our staff and our community to attend, if indeed it is organized again by Cowichan Tribes. I just want to let the board know that myself and our Secretary Treasurer presented on Truth and Reconciliation, our journey with the Cowichan Valley School District to the the BC Association of School Business Officials. And so myself and the Secretary Treasurer, we led a small group for a couple of hours about what we've done in our school district. And I think reminded them in their own work that this is something that we do in public education, and it's the work of all. So I think it was a great presentation, and I think that they might be looking for more. Orange Shirt Week is coming up. It begins on September the 25th, and the district will be recognizing the entire week. It used to be a day, but now we call it a week. And so September 30th is Orange Shirt Day. It's residential school awareness. Orange shirts are worn to honor the children who survived the Indian residential school system and to remember those who never made it home. And so I know we will be working with our Indigenous education to work toward around supplying and supporting orange shirts across the district. So I've been in conversation with our Director of Inclusive Learning, Jeff Rowan, in order to look into that. Non-instructional day, September the 25th, it is coming up, and that is our Monday, September the 25th. It will be our Indigenous focused non-instructional day. So the Ministry of Education and Childcare have announced over the last few years that we have a specific day that's focused on learning around Indigenous education. And so we have a great format that has been organized by our directors. And so we will be looking at some of our nations, Penelakut, Cowichan Tribes, Spatsit, Halalt, and Malahat will be inviting certain schools to come and visit their area and their offices, their chief and council offices, and their land, just to see what's going on in their vicinity. And then in the afternoon, we will be inviting all of the staff to work together to review their LEAs, their local education agreements, and their memorandum of understanding agreements with their nations, that the children that they serve, so that they can learn more about it in the afternoon. So we're really looking forward to that day, and we thank our Indigenous staff for getting that underway. I also have a copy of our Summer Institute that was held last week on August the 30th at Cowichan School. There were a number of things that some of our staff could sign up to. We had over 100 staff, whether they be teachers or educational assistants or TTCs, who actually engaged in that day. It was a beautiful morning of opportunities of a number of things. And so I'm trying to recall exactly what they signed into, but I know there was something about literacy, there was something around numeracy, something about health plans. But overall, it was a great day, and I want to thank our directors for organizing it. And at the very end of it, they had music and gelato that they were able to celebrate the end of their learning morning with. So thank you for that. Moving on to the summer leadership gathering, the senior educational team, we were able to participate in the academy in August, where we heard from the Ministry of Education and Childcare. And the theme was the future of all children was the name of our gathering. And the government shared a little bit of their priorities with us, and it was around affordability, truth and reconciliation, sustainable, clean, secure, and fair economy. So that was the government's priorities that they shared with us. And then the Ministry of Education and Childcare, their priorities were around equity and well-being, learning environment, and supporting student success. And so that was the focus of our leadership academy. And then lastly, I just wanted to share with the board that the mental health in schools grant has come from the ministry. And again, they've supported our district with $52,000. And I know that this board has augmented that amount of money through their own grants that they've put aside to supplement that area so that we can put more work around mental health supports for our learners across the district. So that has come through. And that is the end of my report with regard to those updates.
Thank you.
All right, now I'd like to move on to 7.3 for board action. In your package, you are going to find our framework for enhancing student learning, and it is on the screen, 2023-2024. Every year by September the 30th, we have to submit a report to the Ministry of Education and Childcare. And this was part of a partnership around the peer review. And so they give us feedback on what we do well, around engagement, around priorities, around alignment, and so on. And so you'll see that this report is only 10 pages because that's all we're eligible to submit. So it's very difficult to squeeze everything we do here to share with our community. It will be put on our website once this board approves this report. And so I'm going to go through it at a very high level. But you can see that it really, the first part is a beautiful picture of our own children. If we can go back, I did say to our director of communications, are those our own children? He said, absolutely, they're our own children. So we don't ever use stock photos. You know, we actually have photos of our own children in these reports. That's the beginning. But the second part is the second page, we have to talk about the context of our district. And so you'll see there, what is our context? Who are we? How many children do we serve? And what are the communities of the children that we serve? You'll see on the side the foundational guide documents and how we actually operate. So you can see all of our foundational documents that we work from. Moving on to the learner snapshot and student development. You can see off to the side there where we actually, we want to talk about what is our foundational skills assessment, what does our data say. One thing I think that we're most proud of is that probably 3 to 4 years ago, our participation rate here was about 32%. We are now up to 87%, which makes this point of data more reliable. And so now we feel more comfortable around what it states. And as many of you would know, that is a provincial assessment tool that's developed by teachers, and we do a regular mark around that on an annual basis. But I think that when you look at what is our commitment, you're going to see down below what is our commitment and what we're looking to achieve here. And you can see the additional key actions at the very bottom here. You know, working side by side in service with teachers to enhance learning outcomes of our students. We launched a real-time data system last year. We've realigned our coordinators to increase focus on the student achievement and inclusive practices. And we've established a school administrators learning group focused on social emotional behavior needs. So you can see that every page is where we are, here's our data, but also what are we committing to, what are some of the next steps. The next one, you'll see on student development continue. You're going to see around career development, and there's some data there. And so you can see that dual credit and work experience has grown exponentially over the years in terms of what we offer our children. And it is the mandate of the ministry around career development around our learners. And then you'll see that there's certain pieces of data from our student learning survey around what they have to say, and the work that we're doing. Moving on to supporting Indigenous learners, I really want to highlight the data sidebar where it talks about our 6-year Indigenous graduation rate. We're moving upward and onward. It's never where we want it to be, and we continue to work toward improvement around that. But you can see that it has moved forward around our graduation rate, constantly working on that, and also the commitment around that. We know that this year coming up, we now are tracking our learners really well, but now we need to really focus on what are our interventions. So we know where our kids are, what are we going to do about it? And so that's all the work that we continue to work on. Moving to the next page, you're going to see what are we doing around supporting our learners with diverse abilities. And again, I've highlighted on the sidebar, what does the data say? We can see that our 6-year graduation rate is also improving around supporting our learners with diverse abilities. But what I like the most, if you look in the middle of the page where it says, I feel welcome at school, I think this is really great information to look at. So you can see in 2018 and 2019, the province was certainly outdoing us on what kids have to say about feeling welcome at school. And we know our staff works really hard at ensuring that we provide inclusive learning environments for our learners. And then as a district, in 2020, 2021, we outdid the province, and now we're kind of neck and neck. And I think that we're always trying to look at our provincial data, how we do as a local school district around that. But I also want you to point out is our commitment again, what are we doing down below around how we're trying to actually improve the results around student achievement, whether it be our Indigenous learners and our learners with disabilities. Moving forward, supporting children in care. I just really want to highlight some of our next steps. We are committed to working with some of our partner groups, but we continue to work with a number of organizations, which is Lala Matal, Manab, and Layla. We continue to work with those partners who are supports around children in care. We also know that we're going to have a principal and a vice principal community work around how do we actually identify those individual learners and how do we actually support children in care in a really wholesome way. So a lot of work going on around that. Our engagement and review, we continue to have, that's the next page, around engagement and review. We continue to work with our Indigenous educational partners. We have all of our supporting plans in place that follow our strategic plan. So those are happening annually. Our school-based plans, they are developed yearly. And so they know that every year before they go away for the summer, our schools work on our framework for student learning plans. And we continue to look at it through a lens of evidence. The next page is new. This is around community input and budget transparency. The ministry loves that work that we do and how we've enhanced it. This is the work that we did last year where we extended our community input and budget transparency process. So we put that in just to really showcase what we do around here. We're proud of the work. They're proud of the work and they like to show it off. And often our Secretary of Treasury will be out there sharing with other districts and how we actually do this work. Then if we move on to a year at a glance, this is really sharing with our community how we look at our assessments when kids are assessments are worked through. And I think that this to me is a very powerful visual that we do our district-wide assessments K-9 in September. We move in October where we do our foundational skills assessment. In November, we have our children in care and our Indigenous student snapshot. And then we review our provincial assessments in December. In January, we're doing our learning updates and our report cards. And then we move on in February, we look at our data. So it really shows what we do for our learners and how we actually take the multiple sources of data and how our team is actually looking at that data and how do we provide supports for that. And that is the final page of our 10-page report where we try to put in all the quantitative, qualitative, what we're doing here and how we align with the Ministry of Education and Child Care expectations.
Any questions? Trustee Cup?
I have two questions, and one is, I feel welcome at school, and I just wondered if you wanted to speak to it. It's more than teachers, right? I mean, it's a school-wide effort in community building, and I just wondered if you wouldn't mind sharing a little more about that.
So the first question was, okay, so I've asked my team to be on the ready on this one. So the question is, when you said we use a student learning survey, so on a regular basis, grade 4, 7, 10, and 12, we would actually ask our learners around this and how they feel. So we ask our learners, but also we ask our staff as well. And we also have another survey that they do around mental health survey. So there's a lot of different data that we ask. So what was the second part of that question?
That was actually my first question. Apparently it had two parts. Is that when you presented it, you said, our teachers are working really hard to make sure everybody feels welcome at school. And I know that that is true, but I also know that that's a sentence way up here, and there's about 8 million tasks underneath that go into making a welcoming school. And I just wondered if you wanted to share more about
Well, there's so many. And so, and I shouldn't just say teachers, because there's the educational assistants, there's the clerical staff the minute they walk through the door. There's the custodians who are there that actually support learners after school as well. But there's also the partnerships. So there are partners that we have to come in and support our learners as well. So I think that it is just an ongoing work that every school does in how do they support their learners. We are a Feeding the Futures program. And so that's also another way that we actually provide supports there. So I feel like that's it could be a whole report unto itself in what the board could hear from some of our staff related to all the work that's going on. And I think that our principals and our vice principals do an excellent job when they come in to talk about our framework for enhancing student learning, where they come in and they showcase to us what is happening in each school site around those pieces. So yes, thank you, Trustee Croft, for helping me to illuminate all those different people, because it's a human business.
Yeah.
The work that we do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And even the work that you do, that you go in and we honor the people who do the work to support our learners.
May I ask my second question? So towards the end here, we talked about the EDI, the Early Development Instrument. For a while there, we were talking about a similar instrument for grade 6. Do we do that, or did that kind of fall away, or?
So that's interesting. So the early development indicator, that one is going to happen every 4 years now, but it's a partnership with UBC. And if we did the middle years, it would actually, we're not sure, we feel like we're doing enough with mental health supports, and it's also it's a very costly endeavor, but it's also where we want to be careful that we don't overdo surveys with our learners. So we're very cautious and we work together as a team. Is it worthwhile or is it not? Last year, you would have seen here in September, there was the check. And that was an early kindergarten assessment tool that we were using with our kindergarten teachers. Now we're going to be actually doing that every 4 years because it became very costly. So it's kind of always in flux a bit around those tools. And so I think that as a team, we didn't want to do the middle years as well, that we felt we were doing enough surveying of our children. And with our mental health surveys, we felt that we were doing enough around that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right.
All right, there's a motion for the board to consider.
All right.
And
So we'll move forward with that. So that the Board of Education of School District 79 Cowichan Valley approves the framework for enhancing student learning report 2023-2024, moved by Trustee Cross, seconded by Trustee Doman. All those in favor? Thank you. Next.
all right, 7.3.2, there is also a motion for the board to consider here. Every year on Remembrance Day, there are wreaths that are delivered. And so there's a motion for the board to consider here as well.
Before we get to the motion, trustees, I do the City of Duncan, but I'm wondering if there's any trustees that would like to take wreaths to the other sites on Remembrance Day. And I'm thinking Trustee Strachan, being a retired member of the RCMP, if you maybe want to defer to Cowichan.
I usually do red, sir, so is that appropriate to? I don't.
To be honest,
Yeah,
I
I don't
don't
know.
see that that would be a problem. On behalf of
Yeah, I'm certainly, I went to Lake Cowichan last year, so.
Trustee Elise,
I would be at the Duncan one because I take my dad.
yeah, take my husband. Is there anybody that would be willing to do Chemainus or Cobble Hill Remembrance Day? Trustee Croft? Everyone, so maybe you guys could just send that to me and we'll get it all lined up. Perfect, thank you. So before us, we have the Board of Education of School District 79, Cowichan Valley, contribute to the Remembrance Day wreaths for the centaurs at the City of Duncan, Chemainus, Lake Cowichan, Cobble Hill Remembrance Day ceremonies. Moved by Trustee Sousa, seconded by Trustee Lise. All those in favor? Thank you. Next, we have World Teachers Day.
Yes, thank you. Annually on October the 5th. And I'm having, there's a motion there as well for the board to consider.
So the Board of Education of School District 79, Cowichan Valley refers the matter of appropriate recognition of World Teachers Day to the chair and superintendent. Moved by Trustee Doman, seconded by Trustee Sousa. All those in favor? Thank you.
7.3.4, the last couple of years, October has become a National Principals Month. And so there's a motion there for the board to consider.
Could you please tell me how we celebrate National Principals Month? Because that was not a thing when I was a trustee 4 years ago.
Yes, during the month of October, last year, all the trustees took out a bit of an envelope that acknowledged all the principals and vice principals. They have a banner that was delivered to them a couple of years ago. And every year that they actually are a principal, they get another year on the bottom of their banner that shows that they, it's acknowledging them that they are a principal for a period of time, or a vice principal, or some of them may move from a vice principal to a principal, so they have a new banner, and every year they're being honored. So it's a little bit of a recognition in, we try to do something that's more in perpetuity rather than just so last year the board took out their new year, shook their hands, and I didn't even go with them. Each trustee went out there and just acknowledged their whatever schools they had, and went and had a great conversation with the principals and or vice principals to deliver their new year.
Perfect. Trustee Sousa?
Does it involve dilly bars?
Not that one.
No, let's not do that again anytime soon.
However, I could say that on World Teachers Day, it's delivering of many chocolates.
Chocolates. Lots of
And
chocolates.
in the past, on that day, trustees and a senior team member would go out and deliver chocolates to the school and all the different sites, including operations and so on, with a real good delivery of chocolates.
Always positively received. Trustee Croft.
I just want to advise some of our not so new, but new trustees, and that is that it's World Teachers Day, but you always have to make sure you charge the principal with keeping chocolates for the custodians and anybody else who isn't in the lunchroom. To be honest, our clerical staff are in the front when we walk in. So they tend to have first dibs, but it's just really important to make sure, and the principals are going to do it, but that way, you know, for sure that it happens and there's some set aside.
Always an important thing. All right, so we have a motion before us that the Board of Education of School District 79, Cowichan Valley refers the matter of appropriate recognition of National Principals Month to the chair and superintendent. Moved by Trustee Sousa, seconded by Trustee Lise. All those in favor? Thank you. Long service recognition.
All right, in your package on page 36, we have a new AP that I reviewed with the board in the springtime. But there is a motion here for the board to consider. At the very bottom, where it says long service recognition will be calculated as of December the 31st, following the employee's start date year, is part of our AP. The reason why it's in front of the board is because in the long distance past, the board had determined in how we calculate it. So, so I put this motion here for the board to consider, that they would approve that it is updated to the calculation to be as of December 31st, following the employee start date year to be considered with board.
All right, we have a motion before us that the Board of Education of School District 79, Cowichan Valley approves that long service recognition be calculated as of December 31st, following the employee's start date year. Moved by Trustee Strachan, seconded by Trustee Sousa. All those in favor? Thank you. Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you. In the superintendent's update, she made note of all the work that happened in the summertime and thanked all all the employee groups that were here through those months. And I just wanted to show a few examples here. So we asked the custodial and maintenance department for a list for the boards. I'd like to show you what a pile of wax beans apparently looks like in the school. So high success in completing 637 carpets cleaned, up last year from 103, all the exterior window washing, and then gym refinishing at the sites listed there. And you can see how nice that gym looks down here in the lower corner after it's been, whoops, sorry, I went too far. After it's been refinished and the work happening there. Also on the second page here, there was the board had previously allocated through the budget a replacement for custodial, and instead of a couple of auto scrubbers, they bought a cleaner to clean the combustibles in the dust extraction systems in the schools to create safe schools. And you can see the worker there utilizing that new piece of equipment that they were really excited to get, as that reduces a lot of our risk around fire risk in those wood shops in the future. So we have that to show you. And then there's just a long list of projects here of all the work that happened this summer, from roofing to hazmat to exterior paint, for instance, and the sites where that happened. So very, very busy department over the summer months, and just wanted to show all the work that they've done.
Thank you.
Under board action, we do have the board committee. This came out of the June 6th board meeting, that the board policy 8 board committees be amended to include the climate action committee terms of reference. So that was essentially built into policy 8, and now it needs to be adopted as amended by the board. So it is included in the package with all of those amendments. They're exactly the same as what was in the package previously. So we'll find it here. Sorry.
So we have a motion before us that the Board of Education of School District 79 Couch Valley adopts the revised policy 8 board committees as amended. Moved by trustee Sousa, seconded by trustee Kraft. All those in favor?
Thank you. That concludes my report.
So we have a list of committees outside our organization. There it is. Just a reminder for trustee Doman, you have DPAC this month. Trustee Thorne, is not here right now. Watch those. Anything that's been missed that you can see? Hearing nothing. New business, 12-point run. Review spelling of the Cowichan Valley School District. Trustee Croft.
Thank you. Yeah, so as you know, we adopted Watson Secondary for the new school instead of renaming it Cowichan Secondary, because Cowichan is in fact an inaccurate and incorrect Anglicization of the original name of our valley, which is Cowichan. And I'm sure there are other people who could pronounce it better, but in terms of helping language experts and so on, Cowichan is an adequate spelling leading to an adequate pronunciation. We determined that through conversations with the Cowichan Tribes Vision Committee. So we do know that it is a name that our community is comfortable with, and that the people who are the experts in Halkomelem are also comfortable with. So I just wanted to put this forward for conversation, and then I would like to see it go on the board planning agenda in the future. And then I think there's some work to be done in terms of what has to happen were the district to consider, buried the lead, were the district to consider changing our name from Cowichan Valley School District to Cowichan School District, or perhaps it should be Cowichan Valley, we need to know. That perhaps the board, if all of our ducks form up in a row, we might want to take a closer look at that. I'll just, sorry, so this is from the press release that was shared when we adopted Cowichan for the new secondary school. It says this spelling adjustment comes after consultation with the Cowichan Tribes Vision Committee, who provided important feedback to this project. The Vision Committee consists of Cowichan Sahin elders, district Indigenous education staff, Indigenous students, and senior district staff. They provided the recommendation to the board on the new school and the potential naming adjustment. The spelling adjustment reflects the board's commitment to reconciliation with First Nations and the communities we serve. And I think that much going forward, I think that's a really good foundation from which we could take a look at changing the district name as well. Not saying it's a done deal, I'm saying it's a worth thing to look at. So if you guys have any comments or thoughts on that, it would be a nice time to share them.
So we will be sending it to board planning, and so we'll be able to kind of flesh that out a little bit more, because we do know that there'll be some added expenses because of logoing throughout the district. District vehicles, everything that says Cowichan Valley School District on it will have to be changed. So we know that that's going to be fleshed out as well. So that's why we'll go to board planning. Trustee Stissa.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I do like the idea of it. The one thing that we need to consider is that whereas the high school is in Cowichan territory, the valley encompasses Tabasat. They're Nuu-chah-nulth people. They're not Cowichan people, and Malahat as well. They're part of the same broader cultural group, but they're not part of the Cowichan nation that pre-existed colonization. So we have to kind of think about that as well. But I mean, I like the idea in theory and ideally, but it's, yeah, we do have to lots of folks that.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's why it needs to look, and why board planning is, as you suggest, is a great place to start. And secondarily, in terms of the budget and that kind of thing, I know that there's possibilities of, if you're going to adopt a name change, you can do it months, years, weeks out, so that maybe, you wouldn't have to suffer the budget ramifications all in one time. It can be a graduated process. So I just hate to see the money be the only reason we don't look at it, right? That there might be some way to.
It's just a reality.
Yes, I know, but it doesn't have to be a one shot deal. We could do some graduated looking at that. But yeah, yeah, that's a pickle, right? I mean, how many names can you put on this valley, and is it better to go with what we've got? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Any other thoughts for Trustee Croft before we send this up to board planning? Hearing none. All right, moving on to question period. Mr. Sandquist, do we have any questions from online or either the two members in the gallery from USW or QE?
I'll just start. We do have a gallery, and I know it takes time to enter a question. So if you do have one, if you could put in question and answer that you have a question, and then we will wait for you to enter your name, address, and the item on the agenda that it relates to. And then we'll just let you do the gallery questions first.
Any questions from the gallery? We have no questions from the gallery.
Oh, hi. I'm at the gallery.
So welcome to USW QP.
I don't have much peripheral vision.
And nobody has indicated that they have a question that they will be typing. So I would say at this time, there are no questions from our online gallery.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. A motion to adjourn, moved by Trustee Doman, seconded by Trustee Sousa. All those in favor? Perfect. Thank you. And trustees, how about if we take 5 minutes before we